Salutations, people! Welcome to Page 3 Killers, Murders That Went Unnoticed, a podcast where we dive into the murder cases that went unnoticed by our nation's newspapers.
Hi, Shay.
Hi, John.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, guys. Welcome back.
Welcome to Page 3 Killers, Murders That Went Unnoticed, Season 2, Episode 26.
Yep, and here we go for this episode. We have a pretty interesting case.
Lay it on us.
We are going to be talking about dirty cops. Well, one dirty cop in particular who went down for murder. Which doesn't seem to happen very often now.
No, it's... I mean... If it happens off duty, it's pretty, pretty much the same as anybody else. But on duty...
Yeah.
They tend to get away with stuff on duty.
Yeah. So we're gonna be talking about Charles Becker.
So is he the one who got killed, or he the one done the killing?
He's the one that done the killing. Okay, so he is the dirty cop that we're gonna be talking about. He was a lieutenant in the New York City Police Department, and this case comes out of the 1910s.
Oh, snap!
Yeah, 1910. Yeah. So this is back when they executed people.
Like same-day executions. You didn't get a chance to appeal.
Yeah, kind of thing. So it's gonna be a good, interesting one. I do like doing these historical ones, because a lot of people haven't heard about them. I've never heard about them, which is really great. And this one here was really interesting. So I thought, why not? I'll throw it in there. Maybe you guys will like it, maybe you won't. But nothing I can do about it if you don't like it. So, but before we get started, let's do a huge shout out to our patrons on Patreon. Thank you, Ralunk, Chelsea Hargrett, and Stacey Fragale. Thank you guys so much for donating on Patreon. We appreciate your support, and we appreciate that you guys tune in every week to listen to the podcast.
So here's something I didn't know. And I've had conversations, but I don't think I paid enough attention. The New York City Police use a very similar, at least insignias, as the military for their officers.
Interesting.
Anything above lieutenant.
Yeah. Well, we all know that New York police aren't always the paragon of society, so Yeah, John's busy looking at that. So thank you to our patrons. If you guys out there want to support the podcast, you too can subscribe, like, share, subscribe, and that is free. If you guys want to support the podcast monetarily, you guys can always hit us up on Patreon, and we would appreciate your support to help us make this podcast a little bit better. Now for our news. So, this here is a big year. This is 1912.
What's special about 1912?
1912 is this case. So we have some really interesting news stories. All right, so the biggest one I'm going to leave down in the CD side, but it can go multiple ways, okay? So, first, in our news, we have January 11th through March 12th. We have the 1912 Lawrence Textile Strike, which was also known as the Bread and Roses Strike. So, it was immigrant textile workers in Lawrence, Massachusetts, strike in response to pay cuts, corresponding to a new law shortening the work week. So there was, I believe the year before, 1911, either it was 1911, beginning of 1912, they basically shortened the work week to 40 hours, which is where we currently have our hours. You work 40 hours a week, and that is full time.
Yep. So this is just a classic case of unintended consequences.
Mm-hmm.
So the government comes in and says, "Hey, we want people working less," and the government says, "Hey, everyone's got to work less," and then guess what happens with everybody? You start getting paid less because they're working less. Go figure. And then the people in the textile factories are like, "Well, heck, I wasn't barely making anything anyway because I'm an immigrant working in a textile factory.
Yep.
Now you're gonna make me work even less and get paid less."
Yep. So that started off that. Now on January 22nd, we have the Overseas Railroad opens, and that would be the first train arrives in Key West, Florida, at 10:43 a.m. with Henry M. Flagler. Yeah, that's
yeah, Flagler.
The railroad's creator and owner aboard it. Yeah. All right, and then on May 6th, we have suffragettes and their supporters parade in New York City. And it, for anybody else, that is the women's right to vote movement. Yeah. So the very first feminists.
Yeah, sure. You can call them first wave feminists.
Yeah, they were first wave feminists.
I mean, there's some proto feminists before them, but you know.
Yeah. So there you go. The next one, why don't you read that one?
The Detroit Tigers go on strike to protest suspension of Ty Cobb, a terrible human being. A replacement team is recruited from the coaching staff and local colleges in fields and is fielded to avoid forfeiture to the Philadelphia A's, and they would end up losing pretty badly.
Yes. And then
which, by the way, Ty Cobb was just editorialized this a little bit. Like, Ty Cobb was just a terrible, terrible human being who probably deserved not only to get suspended, but to be kicked out of baseball permanently.
What did he do?
And probably go to jail. Everything.
Everything? Hookers, drugs.
Sure. Horrible racist. Attempted to maim players while on the field. Was known to wear not just, like, athletic spikes, but, like, he would sharpen his spikes, and then when he would slide into bases, he would kick his foot up in an attempt to impale the opposing team.
That is rude.
Yeah.
Unsportsmanlike conduct.
I believe he even called for the
So I don't feel bad that they lost.
Yeah, no. He was just like a terrible, terrible human being, and
they should have just forfeit the game.
Well, I mean, back in the day, that was...
Yeah.
It wasn't as frowned upon.
Yeah. Yeah, that sucks. So on August 4th, we have the United States occupation of Nicaragua. So U.S. Marines land from the U.S. Annapolis in Nicaragua to support the conservative government in its request. Yeah. Was that a good idea, bad idea, babe?
Well, this would have been pre-World War One. But this would have been the Roosevelt's Monroe Doctrine, like, continuation. So I would say no, it's probably a bad idea. But that's beside the point.
Yeah. All right. So now we're going to move into our CD side. And we're going to open up with, I feel that this belongs in this category. You can debate me on this. But I feel like it deserves to be in the CD side category for a lot of reasons. All right.
So you got your first four.
Yeah. So, yeah, because these are the different major things that happen.
So I'm gonna give you some pushback on this one.
You're gonna give me pushback. All right.
Yeah, you go through the first four, and then I'll tell you why.
So April 10th, we have the British ocean liner, the RMS Titanic, leaves Southampton, England, on her maiden voyage for New York City. Everybody knows that the following on April 14th and 15th, the Titanic strikes an iceberg and sinks in the Atlantic Ocean. The sink causes a loss of around 1,517 to 1,600 lives. And that wreck we all know is rediscovered in 1985. Now, on April 18th, Cunard Lines, Cunard Liners, the RMS Carpathia, arrives in New York with the remaining 706 survivors of the Titanic. Now, on April 19th, the United States Senate initiates an official inquiry into the Titanic disaster, hastily issuing subpoenas for White Star personnel before they can return to the United Kingdom. Now, the reason why I put this in here is that I felt that they did not have enough lifeboats on the ship. Like, we all know that. They did not have enough lifeboats for as many passengers as they had on the ship. And I believe, hey, the captain stayed, did his duty. He went down with the ship, which is right on him. All right. But I think behind the scenes, the owners of the Titanic did some stuff on their end that wasn't right. Because they wanted to get that ship out as fast as possible. So that's why I think it deserves to be on the city side.
No one cared about that Titanic in its day. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, really?
I mean, once it crashed, people were upset about it, but the Titanic wasn't even...
Titanic was front page news.
Yeah, when it crashed, but prior to that, the Titanic wasn't a big deal.
Yeah, but this is the sinking of the Titanic is my main point right here. So, seaside.
I don't know if it's still CD side.
Well, the reason why they lost as many lives as they did is, because they didn't have enough lifeboats.
Yeah, but that was typical for the time.
Just saying. If you have so many people on there, you should have enough lifeboats. Whatever. All right. Well, our next case on here, our next news story, is probably a really big one. Well, definitely is. So we have the Villisca Axe murders, and that is how you pronounce that, babe. Which takes place in Villisca, Iowa. So the Villisca Axe murders occur between the evening of June 9th, 1912, and the early morning of June 10th, 1912, in the small town. I'm not going to repeat the name. Now, the 6 members of the Moore family and 2 guests are found bludgeoned to death in their residence. All 8 victims included 6 children, had been struck and had severe head wounds from an axe. A lengthy investigation yielded several suspects, one of whom was tried twice. The final trial ended in a hung jury, and the second ended in an acquittal. The case remains unsolved to this day. Oddly enough, there is speculation that they try to link these axe murders to several other axe murders in the country. But I think it's kind of ridiculous because an axe was an easy to obtain weapon because everybody had one.
Especially out in Iowa.
Yeah. You got to cut wood for fire, It was a tool that you used a lot. So everybody had one. So there was, around this time between the late 1800s and then there was about 5 or 6 serial axe murders. But it could have just been that, several different people committed each one. It's not... I don't feel like any of them were this, a criminal mastermind or anything. Just limited technology. Everybody had an axe. Yeah. But this case is super crazy. I've listened to a couple of things about it, podcasts. I've read 1 or 2 books about it. It's pretty interesting. So if you guys are interested in that one's a pretty good, interesting case. So why don't you read the next one?
Teddy Roosevelt gets shot.
Yeah. So on October 14th, while campaigning in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, former President Theodore Roosevelt is shot by saloon keeper John Shrank? Yeah. With a fresh flesh wound and a bullet still in him. He does deliver his scheduled speech. It's pretty
84-minute speech. Not some little 10-minute speech. It was an 84-minute speech.
How much do you think he was sweating by the end?
Well, it was Wisconsin in October, so it's probably pretty chilly out.
No, I mean from the pain.
Oh, I don't know. It was Teddy Roosevelt.
Probably wasn't too bad. He was tough, right?
Only president with a tattoo.
Yeah. Now, after finishing it, he did go to the hospital, and, where it was deduced that if he had not had his speech in his breast pocket when he was shot, he would most likely be dead. That is kind of interesting. Like, what? How thick was this speech? I mean, an 84-minute speech. That's a pretty thick stack of note cards, right?
Yeah, it could have been.
Like, at least that.
And, by the way, they left the bullet inside of him.
Wow.
It was never taken out.
That's crazy. Yeah. So that's it for our news today. And we are right on schedule. I love it. All right. So now we're going to start talking about Charles Becker. Now, he was born on July 26th. So, we're right about... I think this is going to...
We're recording this on the 24th. It'll probably be the 29th when we release
7th,
it.
The day after.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right. I'm not going Friday.
1870. So he was, like I said, he was a lieutenant in the New York City Police Department between 1890 and 1910. He is known for the scandal of being tried, convicted, and executed for the first-degree murder of the Manhattan gambler Herman Rosenthal in 1912 near Times Square. Now, he was convicted at the Becker-Rosenthal trial. Becker may have been, and I quote, the only police officer executed for crimes connected to his official performance. And that was a quote.
Oh, so see, he was killed, or he did commit the crime on the job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're gonna get into it. There's gonna be some elements of corruption. It's pretty much what every cop back then was doing. Like the protection racket kind of thing, sort of like mob like activity. Which back in the day, New York police, probably the closest thing to a mob.
Other than the actual mob.
Yeah, other than the actual mob. They were very similar, and I mean, they were willing to take kickbacks, and they worked for mobsters, so, the corruption scandal related to the case was one of the most important in the progressive era, New York City, in the early part of the 20th century. So Charles Becker was born in the village of Callicoon Center in
Sullivan
County, New York. Now, his parents were German-American immigrants from Bavaria. Bavaria? Yeah.
Bavaria, like as in Bavarian cream.
Ooh, yeah. So, he moved to New York City as a young man in 1890, I should say, and went to work as a bouncer at a German beer hall just outside of the Bowery. Now, in November of 93, he joined the New York City Police Department, and that's 1893, guys. In the fall of 1896, he gained attention when he arrested Ruby Young, whose alias was Dora Clark, on Broadway because the known prostitute was in the company of a popular writer, Stephen Crane, who is the author of The Red Badge of Courage. Yeah. Now, the next day, at Ruby Young's hearing, Crane stepped forward and defended her. Crane's popularity carried weight in the court, and the sentencing of Ruby Young. And the magistrate, Robert C. Cornell, dismissed the case entirely. Now, afterward, Crane told reporters, "If the girl will have the officer prosecuted for perjury, I will gladly support her." Now, 3 weeks later, Young filed formal charges against Charles Becker. Feeling vulnerable, Becker gathered evidence, hired experienced defense counsel Lewis Grant, and rallied the support of his colleagues. Becker made a powerful entrance at his trial on October 15th, 1896, surrounded by, a plethora of policemen. Right?
A phalanx.
A phalanx, yeah.
Which would be a Roman formation in which they circle around each other to protect each other.
Yeah. Like they do. Now, the commissioner, Frederick Dent Grant, son of Ulysses S. Grant. Oh.
What?
I'm related to Ulysses S. Grant. Holy crap.
This could be your great-great-grandfather.
Yeah. Yeah, headed the proceeding. Ooh, he was the judge. Cool. Now, after almost 5 hours of examination, Becker was acquitted of any wrongdoing. So he learned that the power of the badge, how he could, call on his colleagues for help, how the cops be do. They sort of protect their own no matter what kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right? Make stuff disappear. Maybe lie a little bit on. Right?
Right.
Yeah. Because we all know no cop ever gets found guilty of anything now that when they're on duty, which I think is an absolute travesty. There should be consequences for actions. So yeah.
Yeah, it's really difficult for any government official to be prosecuted as long as they're discharging their duties.
Yeah, which I think is ridiculous because all they have to say is that they were using their best judgment of the situation. Like, there's a law that protects them. And I think that's so ridiculous that, yeah, to some extent there should be some protection for them. But if you kill somebody,
yeah, no more protection than should be provided to the general public.
Exactly. That's exactly how I feel, babe. They should have the exact same level, and they should go through the exact same court system. But they don't. It's different. All right. So after that, Charles Becker marries. I'm gonna pronounce this. I think it's pronounced Letitia.
I would assume it's Letitia.
Letitia Stenson from Ontario, Canada. And they have a son together. His name is Howard P. Becker, who was born in 1899. Now, 6 years later, they end up divorcing. And Howard grew up with his mother and stepfather in the West. I was not sure if it was like the western part of the state or if they moved cross country. I was unsure of what they meant by that. Now, his mother married Charles's brother Paul.
It's messed up.
That is kind of messed up. So Howard Becker completed a doctorate in sociology at the University of Chicago, and later became a full professor at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Now, Charles Becker married and divorced again after that. In 1905, he married a woman named Helen. She was a school teacher and later became an assistant principal. Now, they had a daughter together named Charlotte Becker, who died the day after her birth in 1913. Now, Helen Becker always believed that her husband was wrongfully convicted of this murder. Okay?
Now, so this is his third wife?
Yes. No, his I think this is...
I believe it's his third.
Yeah, third, sorry. All right, so in 1902 and 1903, Becker was one of the leaders of the Patrolmen's Reform Movement. Oh my gosh.
Agitating
the introduction of the 3-platoon system.
I don't know what a 3-platoon system is supposed to mean. Maybe that means 3 8-hour shifts.
Yeah. Well, we can Google that.
Well, that's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, okay, so members of the fire force, okay, that's for fire. Police. 3-platoon system. Police. Okay, corrections shall divide all the custodial officers in each employee classification into 3 platoons at each institution. The New York Times. Yeah, well, while John is reading up on that, I'm going to keep going, and he'll interject later on. So it would have significantly reduced the number of hours. Oh, babe, I did do my research.
Golly.
Oh my God. Next line. It would have significantly reduced the number of hours that the beat police officers were expected to work.
Yeah, I bet you it's 3 8s instead of 2 12s.
Yeah. So in 1906, he was seconded to a special unit working out of the police headquarters to probe the alleged corruption of Police Inspector Max F. Schmittenberger. The inspector had earned
goes the weasel, because the weasel goes pop.
So the inspector had earned animosity among the patrolmen for giving detailed testimony in the 1894 Lexel committee investigating police corruption in New York City. Partially because of Becker's work, Schmittenberger was subsequently prosecuted. All right. So the deputy police commissioner
Rhinelander.
Rhinelander.
That's a
Waldo.
heck of a first name.
Yeah. Oh man, that's kind of cool. Rhinelander.
I bet you he's from the Rhineland.
Probably. Was also satisfied with Charles Becker's work. That when he was appointed as the New York City police commissioner in 1911, Waldo appoints Becker, now a lieutenant, as the head of one of the city's 3 anti-vice squads. So, he's got good things going for him right now. He's, got acquitted. He's been married a couple of times. His life's rocky, but at his job, he seems to be doing a good job, at this point. Until.
So I was looking up what a lieutenant
yeah.
is in the New York police department, and is basically your third level of seniority. You have patrolman, sergeant, and then lieutenant.
Yeah, like Lieutenant Cragen from Law and Order.
Or Lieutenant anybody from Law and Order.
Yeah. So now's where we're going to start to get into his problems on the job. All right. So Charles Becker allegedly used his position to extort substantial sums of money, later shown to be in excess of $100,000 from the Manhattan brothels and their illegal gambling casinos in exchange for immunity from police interference. Now, percentages of what was taken were regularly delivered to politicians and other policemen who were, part of this whole thing. Now, the area was under the patronage of Tammany Hall's leader, Big Tim Sullivan. All right. Now, Herman Rosenthal was a flamboyant Estonian immigrant who ran several illegal casinos.
Where's Estonia?
Isn't that in the Turkey, Greece, that area?
Oh, yeah, you got it right.
Yeah, because I had a teacher that went to Estonia.
Oh, you cheater.
She was, because every year they have a symposium for, folk things. So it was a class I took on, folklore and history, and folk arts. And she's like, yeah, you want to go to, this thing? She's like, listen, there's maybe 60 or 70 people that show up, and half of them smell like I believe she said it was goat urine. So, yeah. She said she went and she went for... did a thing in drop spindle, which is a type of thread making.
Actually, I lied.
Oh.
Estonia is up near Finland.
Mm.
Which actually I knew.
Okay.
I don't know why I thought you were right.
Yeah, I was wrong. Oh no. Yeah, so this Estonian immigrant ran several illegal casinos and was known in what was known as the Tenderloin D district. So he was irritated by a police raid led by Charles Becker on one of his casinos where they damaged some of his property and left, Now, he complained to the press that Charles Becker collected 20% of the take there, and that he should be a little bit nicer when they were there. Now, in July of 1912, Charles Becker was reported by the New York World as one of the 3 senior police officials involved in extorting money from Rosenthal's casinos. Now, the day that Rosenthal was due to testify to a grand jury about all of this, he was murdered at 2 a.m. as he left the Hotel Metropole at 147 West 43rd Street, which is just off of Times Square.
No. So they must have offered this guy a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
This Herman Rosenthal character.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was already running illegal casinos.
Yeah.
So it seems kind of strange to be able to go to court and be like, listen, this guy was stealing from me. Yeah, I know I was making all that money from this illegal stuff I was doing, but he's stealing it, and that's bad. So if you just kindly ignore the casinos for a moment.
Yeah.
See what you can do with this guy.
There were a couple of witnesses who saw the following people, all right, shoot Rosenthal And it was said that they made no effort to disguise themselves. So get this: Lefty Louie, Whitey Lewis, uh, Dago Frank, and Gyp the Blood. Though those were the executioners. Okay.
I approve.
Yeah.
You know what? I think people should bring back the old-timey nicknames.
Old-timey nicknames?
They were the best. Like, people would be called Whitey Lewis. Who knows? That might even been his first name. That's a real first name.
Yeah, because you had Whitey Boulder. Like, yeah.
Or, like, let's just take Lefty Lewis. I bet you it's because he was a left-hander.
Yeah.
Right?
Gyp the Blood. Like, what?
But, like, that's what people
That's
would
just
legit...
a
That would
full-on
become
nickname.
that would be, like, their real official name.
Yeah. Like... Oh my God, there's so many good ones out there.
Look at baseball cards.
Yeah.
It's all up until the 50s. You get the best names.
The Big Bambino.
Well, no, see that was a nickname because that was Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
But you would have like Dazzle Vance.
There you go.
Dizzy and Dazzle
sort
Vance.
of comes their real name after a while.
Actually, I think that was their real names because they were brothers and they were both pitchers. Dizzle and Dazzy.
Razzle and Dazzle.
Dizzy and Dazzy or something like that. I forget. Well, Dizzy was the really good one,
Yeah.
but his brother was also a pitcher. I'm trying to think. Like, you could just come up with and they didn't even care. It could even be a terrible nickname, and they'd totally embrace it.
Yeah.
Like, this is Baldy Campbell. Like,
Was he bald?
well, I don't know, but he would just embrace it, and his official name would be Baldy. That's what he would sign his when he signed off on his mortgage. He would write, Baldy.
All right. Now, they were all tried separately, convicted and sentenced to death, and were ultimately executed for this murder. Now, Manhattan District Attorney Charles S. Whitman, who had made an appointment to interview Rosenthal before his death, alleged that the four gangsters had committed the murder at Charles Becker's behest. Now, amid a major public outcry following the murder, the extensive press coverage, Becker was transferred to the Bronx and assigned to desk duty.
There we go. It was Dizzy and Daffy Vance.
All right, so District Attorney Charles S. Whitman, officially continues the investigation into Charles Becker, even though he's been reassigned to a different part of the police force, another district within the police force. Now, on July 29th, 1912, Becker was arrested at the precinct's closing hour by special detectives from the district attorney's office. Now, he was tried and convicted of first-degree murder that fall in a trial presided by John Joff, who was biased. Basically, he was intensely biased against Becker. So he basically charged the jury towards conviction. He sort of made sure that they would see things that way. Now, the verdict was overturned on appeal on the grounds that the judge had been biased and that there was no independent collaborating witnesses to testify to the events, since all of them had been involved in the crimes. And basically, if they're a criminal, they're not going to tell the truth, kind of thing. So they're like, you can't trust what they say. So the court ruled for a retrial. And but in 1914, Becker was convicted again and sentenced to death. He was the first police officer in New York to receive that penalty. Now, Becker continued to profess his innocence. Now, the day before his execution, Becker apparently told the warden the following. Hey, babe, do you want to read this section right here for me?
Sure.
As Charles Becker?
Sure. I told him to put... Okay, everyone's not going to miss that joke. It starts with sure. Sure, I told him to put Rosenthal out of the way. But I didn't mean they should kill him. I wanted them to put him out of town so he didn't blab. Killing him was Rose's idea and the others. They wanted to save their own skins.
Now, Jack Rose had served as prosecution's witness, as did Harry Vallon, Sam Shepis, and Bridgie Weber. Yep, Bridgie Weber. Oh my god. Which I'm guessing is those guys' real names. The four that were convicted. Now,
I really do love rural, old-timey names. They're the best.
Yeah, I know. Now, they were underworld criminal figures who were believed to have been involved in the crime that were promised immunity by the district attorney's office in exchange for testifying against Charles Becker. Now, Whitman, who was also the governor of New York, signed Becker's death warrant in 1915 and attended his execution. So, Becker was executed by electric chair at Sing Sing prison on July 30th, 1915. The process took 9 minutes and appeared to cause the man intense agony. Now, for years afterward, it was described as the clumsiest execution in the history of Sing Sing. Now, Becker is the only policeman to be executed for murder in the history of the United States. Now, he was interred at the Woodlawn Cemetery in the Bronx on August 2nd of 1915, and he was buried next to his daughter. So, the controversy surrounding this, so beginning with Henry Klein. In 1927, a number of authors suggested that Charles Becker was wrongfully convicted. Now, Andy Logan wrote a thorough account of this position in her Against the Evidence, a book that she wrote in 1970, as she became convinced of his innocence in the murder through her research. Now, they suggest that Charles Becker and his fellow officers had stood back and allowed the streets to take care of Rosenthal, since they knew that he cooperated with the district attorney's office and would put a huge target on his back. So basically, their thought is that instead of acting as law, they let the street law take care of it. So they just didn't do anything to stop it from happening, kind of thing.
This seems like to get the death sentence for this seems awfully
yeah.
I don't know, like he pissed someone off.
Yeah. Now, 3 people have been identified as having a major stake of self-interest in Becker's prosecution for murder. Now, allegedly, District Attorney Whitman manipulated the evidence to implicate the corrupt lieutenant. Becker is known to have assets that far exceeded his salary. So, now, however, for Whitman, guaranteeing a guilty verdict for Becker at the sensational murder case would help his own political aspirations, and he is thought to have been elected as governor largely based on the success in that goal. Now, in addition, the reporter Herbert Bayard Swope.
Swope.
Publicized the case mercilessly in the press, representing the power of the New York world. Now, he devoted much space in the newspaper to the conduct of the trial and the individuals' testimonies. Now, later he said his reporting on the trial catapulted his career. Now, lastly, as noted above, Judge John Joffe showed his bias and played a major role in gaining a guilty plea verdict from the jury. Now, New York police historian Thomas A. Repetto believed that Becker was guilty because of the testimony of people involved, but also he had a strong motivation. He had a strong motive that had shown reckless behavior. The consensus continued to favor Charles Becker's active involvement in the murder. Now, the Becker Rosenthal murder was explored by historian Mike Dash in his book titled, you're going to love this, Satan's Circus, Murder, Vice, Police Corruption, and New York Trials of the Century. And that was published in 2007. He made no conclusion as to Becker's guilt in that murder. Okay? So... All right. So, in popular culture, just to wrap this up, the Jack Rose became a popular drink named after the gambler who was the leading prosecution witness at the trial. So you had that. F. Scott Fitzgerald had his mob boss character, Mayor Wolfsheim, described a fictional version of this murder in his novel, The Great Gatsby.
Guess you've never read Great Gatsby.
No, I haven't. I've read other stuff by F. Scott Fitzgerald. The stuff written by his wife.
Yeah, like you took a sip there, you're just like, yeah, that's right, I knew that. Yeah, what? Yeah. You just drank that with a little bit too much confidence and arrogance. That's all I'm saying.
What?
Like you were just like dropping the mic. You're like, yeah, that's right. I said that.
Yeah,
it's a controversy.
It's not. His wife wrote his stuff. Okay, so some things he wrote. Saying. And other things he probably stole from her. Okay. It's not.
It's almost like you were saying, yeah, women are better, so shut up. But you didn't want to say that, so like you just. Yeah. You're like, that his wife wrote.
Yeah.
Because women are better, but I'm not going to say that.
I don't have to say it.
Exactly.
Just drop the mic.
That's the way you just drank your drink. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, I love you. All right, so this murder was also featured in Harry Stein's novel
Hoopla,
which was from 1983. And then he was even featured in Kevin Baker's novel Dreamland from 1999. And to finish that out for 2000, it was featured in Michael Bookman's book, which was a self-published novel called God's Rat, Jewish mafia on the Lower East Side. Okay, I have not read that one, nor have I read the other two previous to that. So
the Jewish mafia was That's an interesting story.
Yeah. I gotta look into that one. But yeah, so that is our case for tonight. What'd you think, babe? Do you think he did it? Do you think he was guilty or innocent?
Well, I think he did it. I don't know if that rises to the case of murder in this particular case.
Yeah.
Or it's certainly not death sentence. Like murder, 1 capital punishment for literally not even doing the crime. I don't know about that.
Yeah. I mean, he basically received the same sentence as the gunmen themselves.
Yeah, he probably received even a worse one.
Oh, they were all executed too.
Oh, they were okay.
Yeah, they were all executed.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they're not going to let the actual murderer go.
They were executed a lot faster than he was.
Well, again, the fact that they even made that, I mean, 1912, their legal system is pretty robust at that point. It's not like they were just making stuff up. Like murder 1, I don't know what they called it back then, but...
Yeah. Me personally, I feel like he was corrupt, all right? He was involved in all of this other stuff. I don't think that he intentionally meant for this guy to get killed. But there's only a few ways to take what he said.
Listen, it's a wink and a nod. If he dies, he dies.
Exactly. So do I think that he should have gotten executed? I think he should have gotten life in prison.
That's even pushing it for someone who literally didn't do it. And for someone who didn't explicitly hire someone to do it.
Yeah. But, yeah, I think he was guilty of something, but maybe not capital murder. Which is hard because I do believe in capital murder in certain circumstances. John is completely against capital murder for good reason. And I get your reason. I personally believe that there are some people that deserve it. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that don't. And those are the ones that end up, it getting used on. I'm saying the people that should be executed are serial killers.
What was the fact I heard the other day? It's known that 4% of the people on death row didn't do it.
Yeah.
Like they know that, and they're not being released from death row.
Yeah.
Like.
Which is insane.
And that's just confirmed. Didn't do it.
Yeah. Like last season we had that one case on Colorado. And every once in a while we bring it up and we say fuck Colorado. Sure, you allow weed, but you suck at making other decisions. Specifically, I think it was Joe Arnett?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. That case.
It was also, close to 100 years ago.
Yeah. Which is why their laws have changed since then. But Texas is probably still the worst.
Like, check it out. This guy's name was Peekaboo Veach. That's his real name. Peekaboo Veach. That's got to be...
Yeah, just think if you messed that up.
Oh, no, the best. Oil Can Brown. A man's name was Oil Can Boyd. I'm sorry, Boyd.
And these are baseball players.
These
right?
are 100% baseball players.
These are not mob people, guys. These are baseball players.
I'm just saying we should bring back names like Oil Can.
Go look up some mob names.
Now, see, they were like nicknames. This is this man's real name. There was some country bumpkin who was tasked with naming a child, and they chose Oil Can.
Like Richard the Iceman Kuklinski.
But again, no, that's not the same, babe. You're missing the point.
Oil Can Boyd.
Like someone has to sign that. He played on the Red Sox. Yeah. Oh my God, I read that wrong. This guy's from the 1990s.
Holy crap. Oh my God.
Oh, I thought that said 1890s. Oh man, that made my day. But Peekaboo Veach, okay, he had he was 1880s. I said we bring back Peekaboo. Like I imagine like it was just a cruel prank that the nurse played on the lady who had this child. She just has a child. She's trying to play peekaboo with it. She just goes, "Man, what's the child's name?" And she's like, "Peekaboo." Like not paying attention, and the nurse just like goes, "Okay," and just walks off. And it's just like,
oh man,
is this a joke? That's what she said when I asked her the question.
It's like my grandmother naming my uncle Paste.
Paste
because she couldn't hear and she couldn't spell, and that's what she thought my grandfather said. Instead, it was supposed to be Pace, Pace, and it was Paste.
Which, by the way, is still kind of a weird name.
Yeah. I think they did fix it though. That would be up to my uncle to let me know. But yeah, so that is our case. You guys can decide for yourselves whether he was guilty or innocent. But I think we can all agree that maybe the punishment did not meet the crime. I feel like he deserved something. I think it probably wasn't what he got.
I mean, it's really not. I'm not like.
Not saying that he wasn't
I don't want to come across as saying he
terrible person.
like I really care about that.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah. Like he's still a terrible person, and he definitely deserved something. He deserved his comeuppance. But as they would say, he wrote a check he couldn't cash.
Right? No, it's like something. No? It's yeah, you could just say that, but there's like a longer one.
Yeah, there's another one that describes it better.
Something like your that's right. Like your mouth wrote a check that your whatever can't cash.
Yeah, that your ass can't cash or something like that.
Or like whatever you're trying to do. Like so, if I don't know.
Yeah.
If like you were like talking like you wanted to fight, you could be like, yeah, your mouth wrote a check that your fist can't cash.
Yeah.
So it's like a variable.
Yeah. So there you go. That's our case. And we hope you guys join us back here next time for another riveting case of pastry killers, murders that went unnoticed.
Some lady asked us, how do we determine which cases go unnoticed? I don't know, because I ain't never heard of them. That's how I judge. And I am basically have my hand on the pulse of the culture ever since, like, apparently 1770. Well, was our first case.
Our first case was, oh my gosh,
like
it was
seven,
like
it was just after this, had to be like 1790.
It was 60s.
Our earliest case?
Our first case was,
no, not our earliest case.
Our earliest case, 1870?
No, it had to be 19 or 17, at least 1790. It was the first, the well case.
Oh, yes.
With Hamilton.
Yes. So usually I go with, regionals. So if it was heard, only within like a region and did not travel outside of that, that's how I decide it. So as long as it didn't go to the West Coast, I would say, okay, yeah, only a certain percentage of the population ever heard about this case. And it has to be small enough. So if it was ever on the front page of the Times and it made it onto the front page of the Los Angeles Times, I would not do it. Kind of thing.
Precisely.
Yeah. So that's how I decide.
Basically, we just make it
John's
up.
never heard of any of them. Yeah. I decide what is.
So like next week, it'll be the totally never heard of case of Ted Bundy.
Oh no, never.
Basically,
because
outside of
everybody knows about Ted Bundy because that spanned across the entire country, babe. Because he killed from up in.
You didn't get the joke.
Oh, what? What's the joke?
Oh, I can't explain it.
Oh my God, forget it then.
If I have to explain it, it's not a joke.
Well, if you don't understand, all right, whatever. We're gonna close this out. We'll see you guys back here at the same time. Enjoy the rest of your week, your day, and we'll see you back here next Wednesday.
Bye.
Bye, guys.